Hey guys, I'm Izzy. Welcome back to our weekly podcast series for all things pre-dent. This week's really exciting. We get to do interviews with dental students. Without further ado, let's begin. I'll start with my little presentation. So, just to start, we are doing, as always, discounts to crack the DAT. This week's interviewing with other dental students. So for 10% off, use the code GetAccepted10. You can use that at any point. You can share with your friends, have everyone else as well use it. And then stay tuned for a 50% off winner announced at the end. So without further ado, we're gonna introduce Gerardo. He is a first year at Harvard, and he is class of 2024. So the first one is, what's your best piece of advice to give to a pre-dental student?
I would say shadow a lot, and not because you have to in order to have a strong application, but also because you want to make sure this is the right profession for you. Essentially, you're going to be doing this for the rest of your life, and also it's going to be a huge investment, in terms of money. So you want to be 100% sure that you want to do this for the rest of your life. So my biggest advice would be shadow a lot. Whenever you're back home during the summer or whatever, reach out to your dentist. Just be exposed as much as you can to the profession.
Right, I agree.
Yes.
What's one thing you wish you knew while in undergrad with regards to dental school?
While in undergrad, probably that you can get into a great dental school without having an outstanding GPA. There are many schools that look at your application in a holistic matter rather than just your grades. For example, they look at your research experience, they look at your volunteering hours, shadowing hours, your experience as a person in general. Pretty much everything else is not just your grades and a DAT score. I mean, those are very important, but don't be discouraged just because your GPA is not it's what they show you on their website, or the mean GPA is for that school. So I would say that would be something that I wish I knew while in undergrad and applying to dental school.
Yeah.
I don't know if you agree with that.
No, I totally do. I think it's, you have to really be a whole person, right? Even if it goes the same with getting graded in dental school too. You're getting graded on a variety of things, including your manual dexterity and the way you interact with people. It's not you could be the smartest person in the world and be a horrible dentist. That's not the whole picture. So I think that's a good point. Yeah, you gotta be a whole person.
Exactly.
Okay, so wait, I did the wrong one. Okay. What was the hardest section of the DAT for you, and what did you do to prepare for that?
For me, it was surprising because I'm a chemistry major, so you must guess that I'm good at math. But for me, the hardest section was math. So what I did is I took a bunch of practice tests. I think every week I started and we're gonna get more into detail about it later. But I studied for 12 weeks. So essentially what I did is that I took a math test every single week, and sometimes even more in a week. So I think I totaled, without counting the full length tests, practice tests, I think I did around 15 or so math tests, and it's just practice. I guess I wasn't really trained to because you gotta be quick. That's the thing with the math section. That's my biggest issue with that section. is that I knew how to do the math, of course, but not to that same speed that they wanted you to do it.
Right.
So that was in my opinion, the hardest section for me. So
yeah, I've like done like for this like podcast series like breakdowns of like each section, and I feel like the whole DAT in general is just so subjective to like.
Yeah.
Like I was good at math because I tutored math like for high school kids and stuff.
Yeah.
So I was like doing that I was like doing geometry, which like I wouldn't do since high school.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
But then the orgo,
like you doing geometry as a chemistry.
Yeah, like
as
orgo
a chemistry student.
Right, and like orgo was tough for me, and like I did well in like orgo classes, and then I just like every question I had to like do a mechanism, which takes forever. Yeah. Like I wasn't like fast with knowing like what reagents did what reaction. Like that took a long time, but like you probably like aced that.
I mean, it depends of like how much exposure you've gotten with each, topic.
Yeah.
So
exactly, it's nice to get different people's perspectives. So what was your favorite section of the DAT?
So I'm gonna say least annoying section, not favorite. So my least annoying section was organic chemistry because I am a chemistry major. And I've been exposed to it just like we were talking about it before. Pretty much I did organic chemistry research for more than half of my undergrad career. So that was like I guess you can say favorite section. Yeah.
Did you like any of the PAT?
So like organic and like and general chemistry, they were both fine.
Did you like
what did you say, PAT?
Yeah, did you like any of the PATs? I feel like those are kind of fun.
The PAT was fun, yeah. You just gotta get used to it.
Yeah. I agree.
So I did what you told me. I remember when we talked about it, like before we even started studying for the test, you were like, you gotta download this app where you can do PAT like questions before you go to bed, or like when you're like, between classes or like eating or whatever, and that really helped.
Yeah.
Doing just questions, just random questions whenever you have like free time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that was my favorite thing. I would like study all day, and it would be such a drag, and I would be so brain dead, and then I would like lay in bed instead of going on like Instagram or whatever. I would just do like angle ranking. It's just kind of mindless, and you just get used to it. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, I mean that's something that I also did. I deleted all social media for 12 weeks.
Yeah.
And it really helped. I mean, because in your phones, at least in iPhones, you can check and track how many hours of screen per day.
Yeah.
And it like went down significantly during those 12 weeks.
No, I bet.
Yeah.
So how did you study for the DAT?
Okay, so I was in school during that time, taking a full schedule. So I made my own schedule. And I did that by watching tons of videos of people that, got good scores. I also use other like pre-made schedules from prep companies and, adjusting them into my personal schedule accordingly. And like I said before, I studied for 12 weeks. So the way I did it was that one day I would focus on STEM, and then the next day I would focus on like PAT, math, and then the English section. And so I would go like that, like until the weekend, and then the weekend I would take a practice test every Saturday. So my Saturdays were my take a practice test day, and so I would take it in the morning every Saturday, and then after I get like some lunch or whatever and finish with the test, I go back to the test and review every single question. And that's like how I learned the most, kind of like reviewing not only the questions that I got wrong, but also the questions that I got right. Because, I mean, you can get it right, but you can be like 50-50 on like, guessing two of the answers. And that can really be like game changer when it comes to like the actual DAT.
For sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's definitely, I completely agree. I think the reviewing your practice tests are super important, and that's how you really, and reading like the explanations to all the answers as well as like how they came to the conclusion gives you super, super helpful insight.
Yeah, I agree.
What is your best DAT studying tip?
Would be that one. review every single question after your practice test. Even though you gotta write, you gotta do it. And although this process can be, very annoying and it can take forever, it took me sometimes even longer than the actual test. Mm-hmm. Personally, that's how I learned the most. And just questions. Don't spend too much time kind of transcribing the notes from your prep company to your own notes. In my opinion, that would be a waste of time. It'd be best to do questions, as many questions as you can, and that's how you learn the most, because you get an idea of how DAT kind of makes their and word their questions. The wording of the questions is very important. Sometimes you don't necessarily need to know all the information, or study the material so specifically and so in detail, but you have to study more the actual test, like how they want you to answer the questions.
Yeah.
And go with the thinking and like, okay, this is the equation that I want to use when some sort of this similar question comes up in a test, if that makes sense.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah.
This is a good question. I felt like I was proud of this question. What's the trickiest interview question asked of you?
The trickiest. So I went to, how many interviews? I went to 6 interviews. I applied to 8 schools, right? Yes.
Doesn't matter.
Okay, I'm getting confused. Okay, I went to 6 interviews, 6 or 7 interviews. Yeah, 6 because whatever. But most of my interviews, if not all my interviews, were very conversational. So I didn't have, the generic interview process, like that they ask you about your strengths and weaknesses and how would a friend describe you and this sort of stuff. I never had that experience. All my interviews were very conversational and, very like talk about life, talk about, your experience in dentistry. So in one of my interviews, we talked about telemedicine and teledentistry. So I thought that was very interesting. And, it was not really tricky, but it was an uncommon topic that not necessarily you are expecting to talk about in an interview. So I would say like my biggest advice is to be knowledgeable in the field of dentistry, not to the things that you will learn in dentistry, but kind of like in society what normal people would know about dentistry to a way that you can have a conversation with someone else for 30 minutes at least in an interview.
Yeah, I agree. I had a question one time. It was like something regarding the what I could change with regards to public policy regarding dentistry. And I went into some Medicaid, Medicare requirement of private practices, but I had to really quickly had to throw into every reservoir of information I had ever read in the news about whatever. So yeah, I think that's awesome, and definitely being sure you know what's going on, especially.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So, what's your best piece of advice for the interview?
Don't be shy. Smile. Have a good posture. Eye contact. Dress professionally, and be polite to everyone in that day.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd say those are key things that you should be thinking of every minute during that day.
Definitely.
And that's not only in dental interviews, that's in life.
True. You never know who you'll meet and when.
You never know.
Exactly. What is your favorite thing about the field of dentistry?
Yeah, that's a hard question. Because there are many things that I love about this profession. I wouldn't have picked it, if I didn't think otherwise. But I would say that my top favorite thing, it's its ability to quickly evolve and improve every year. Dentistry is a relatively new profession, and so there are many things yet to be discovered or created to treat patients in the most efficient possible way. And I like that, because as you are practicing and seeing patients every day, you can be the one that comes up with the next revolutionary thing that in this profession that just hands down improves it. And I also like that this profession, it really connects to medicine and the possibility to go, in my opinion, I want to do oral surgery and go into a 6-year residency, which is combined with an MD degree. And I just think that's so cool that you can do that, and not the other way around. Like, if you want to go to medicine and then jump into dentistry, even though dentistry is a branch of medicine, you can do that. You first have to go to dentistry and then medicine. And I just think that's cool that you can do that if you go to dental school.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome. Okay, so that's all my questions.
Really?
Any last?
That was quick.
I know. That was like good 15 minutes. Do you have any last piece of advice or anything? Things to say?
Last piece of advice.
Tell the viewers.
So, let's see. So if you want to specialize, something that I wish I knew in undergrad, also another thing, before applying to dental school, is if you want to specialize, try to look into schools that do pass-fail and have no ranking. And I would personally emphasize and put more attention at those schools, because it essentially gives you a better chance to match into a residency when you can be compared to your classmates. So yeah, I think that's something to look into if you're thinking of specializing. If you don't want to specialize, doesn't matter.
Right, that's a good piece of advice too, because I feel like you're told like not to say you want to go into a specialty when you're applying.
Yeah.
But like you're right, like that is ultimately like, if your goal is to do like from the heart of hearts you want to go into perio, like you should think about that. If,
right.
Like, you're...
And that's something else that I kind of wanted to talk about. I never said, when they asked me if I wanted to specialize, I never said no. I never said that I wasn't sure. I always said that I wanted to do oral surgery. And it can be controversial. Some schools want that, whereas some schools don't want that. But in my opinion, if I'm interviewing someone and that person knows exactly what they want to do with their lives, and if you want to do residency in oral surgery, you have to be dedicated. So it could be good that you say that, and that you know what you want to do, and be determined. So I don't know. That's something else that is controversial. I agree, but to each their own.
Yeah, right. And I think that a key difference in yours is that you knew and you had like reasons to support it, and you kind of had your story of like why you wanted the dream that you want. I think if you go into it being like I want to go into peds because I like kids, like that's not as supported.
Yeah, but I mean, you can. I don't know. Like I said, you can have a reason. That's a reason why not go to peds if you like kids. Yeah, but if you want to do it eventually. Yeah,
kids dentistry is like not about kids. Like it is, but it's like different.
Well, you need to like kids.
Well, for sure.
Yeah.
No, I agree. It's teach their own. I think that's like the other cool thing about having like discussions about like each person's like applying and whatever. And part of the reason like when I talk about this podcast or whatever, like I like literally say like this is all my personal experience. Like don't take it as fact. It's only like what I did and how I was successful. But
exactly.
Each person has their own, anecdotal.
Each person has their own experiences. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you for coming on and joining.
Succeed on your dental admission test. Study less and score higher. Check Crack the DAT now at crackdat.com.
Okay, now we're going to hear the answers from Nicole, who is also at the University of Pennsylvania. She is a D1, and that means she's class of 2024. So, She actually just had oral surgery, so she can't speak. So I'm going to read her answers that she submitted to me as well. So first one, for the best piece of advice that she has to give to pre-dental students is to never doubt yourself. She says, no singular class or test grade determines the outcome of your life or career path. Take every failure as a chance to learn and grow and stay confident in yourself. With regards to one question you wish you knew while in undergrad with regards to dental school, she says, one thing I wish I knew in undergrad regarding to dental school is that the application process takes quite a bit of time. Make sure you set enough time to take your DAT and complete your applications. Most dental schools accept students on a rolling basis, and getting your application in early can put you at a huge advantage. One thing she wishes she knew before applying to dental school is that every school is different. You should do extensive research on each school before applying to them. For example, some schools rank their students, some schools start clinical experience earlier than others, and some schools have residency programs that you can shadow throughout your dental career. Those are only a few of the significant differences between each school, and you should try to figure out what you are looking for in a dental school before applying. She said the hardest section of the DAT for her was the quantitative reasoning. She used the quantitative reasoning book to study for the section. She had a lack of time to prepare and was only able to complete about 5 of 45-minute practice exams. She felt that she was always a strong in math and this section wouldn't be an issue for her, but looking back, she wishes she had prepared more. Nicole says, my favorite section of the DAT was organic chemistry. After taking organic chemistry in undergrad, I immediately switched from a biology major to a biochemistry major since I was much more interested in chemistry. I was also a tutor for organic chemistry after taking the course, and I believe that helped me prepare significantly for the DAT section. How did you study for the DAT? Nicole said she studied for the DAT using a bunch of resources. She went through books once and took notes on the questions she had gotten wrong and reviewed the questions each week. She's a very visual learner, so she made lots of charts and formula pages for the biology and chemistry sections, and she reviewed them before her exam. Furthermore, she found an online platform to study for the perceptual ability part of the exam and would take 60-minute practice exams a few times a week. What is the best DAT studying tip? Nicole says, my best DAT study tip is to figure out a schedule that works with your lifestyle and follow it. Using a physical book to study made it very hard for me to follow a strict study routine. This led to me to be very crunched for time when the test was approaching. Figuring out exactly when you will be done with your study material and giving yourself a few days to review would be my best advice to avoid unwanted stress before your exam. What is the trickiest interview question asked of you? Nicole says, the trickiest interview question I was asked was how I grew as a person from my experience of shadowing in a dental office in Prague. Since the question wasn't regarding dentistry specifically, I was able to talk about the cultural experiences that shaped me as a person during this time. What is the best piece of advice for the interview? Nicole says, my best piece of advice for the interview would be to enter each interview confident in all the successes you have achieved. The application process is a holistic review, and the interview is the best place to show the school you are a genuine, nice person who will be able to talk to patients. You will also be seeing a lot of the same faces at different interviews, so make some friends. What is your favorite thing about the field of dentistry? Nicole says, my favorite thing about the field of dentistry is that it is based on caring for patients and helping them maintain proper oral health, but it is also an aesthetically focused practice. A large part of dentistry involves restoring teeth and making a beautiful smile, one that the patient is happy to show to others. I feel it is this confidence that you are giving your patients that truly draws me to the field of dentistry. Also, that's it for the interviews, but be sure to log on and use these codes and share them with your friends. And as always, we are going to announce the 50% off winner now. Thanks for listening.